You're listening to the Quince podcast.
November 2008. There's perhaps still a lingering sense of disbelief as we talk about that day.
As we approached the Oberois, I looked up from my car and I saw a lot of the lights switched on in most of the rooms. And as we approached closer, we're about 50 yards away, I look up and there's this burst of gunfire. There was a single fire brigade there at that point. The dome of the Taj was up in flames. You could hear constant fire. This was unreal. One couldn't believe that this was happening in Bombay.
In the past years, a lot has been said about how the 26/11 attacks upended the bustling city of Mumbai. Those who survived to tell the tale, journalists who were out in the streets reporting, books, movies that tried to document people's stories, have all tried to capture the horror show that was unleashed in the city down to the minutest details. And so even more than a decade later, the 26/11 attacks in Mumbai remains to be an unforgotten event.
2 or 3 aspects of that time that really stood out for me as flashbulb moments. One was seeing baby Moshe's nanny running out with him out of Nariman House. Another was the image of the last morning of the siege of NSG commandos coming down from a helicopter hovering over Nariman House. This was a sight that was in complete dissonance with the concrete jungle around us. Very surreal.
As 10 Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists laid siege to the city, over 3 days, more than 160 lives were lost, including policemen, Indian citizens and foreign visitors, and more than 300 were left injured. Those wounds may have healed, damaged buildings may have been rebuilt, but the bloodbath and the sheer terror of 26 November 2008 still remains raw.
और what you are putting out, हम क्या बोलें, rumors क्या fact हैं, ये सही में है कि गाड़ियां लेके विले पार्ले की तरफ टेररिस्ट जा रहे हैं, मतलब इस तरह की खबरें फैल रही थी और एक बहुत ही it was a real trial by fire for the media.
You're tuned in to The Big Story, and I'm Shorbari, and on the 12th anniversary of the 26/11 attack, we bring to you first-hand accounts of 3 journalists who covered the attack from ground zero. In this podcast, we'll hear from Raksha Shetty, Mahrukh Inayat, and Shai Venkatraman talk about how they went around covering the attack. Twelve iconic spots in Mumbai were attacked in 3 days by Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists. First, the Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus came under attack by Ajmal Kasab and Ismail Khan at around 9:30 p.m. at night. 58 people died there as they opened fire. Then the Kama Hospital. Even though the attack was thwarted by hospital staff, a short distance away from the hospital, ATS officer Hemant Karkare and other police officers, Vijay Salaskar, Ashok Kamte and Tukaram Omle fell victims to an ambush. The second site of the attack was Nariman House, a Jewish outreach center run by a Jewish couple. The hosts, Gabriel and Rivka Holzberg, lost their lives along with 5 other Israeli citizens in that building. The 2-year-old orphan child of the couple, Moshe, who was saved by his Indian nanny Sandra Samuel, emerged to be the face of innocence in a stark contrast to all the bloodshed. Simultaneously, Leopold Cafe, a popular restaurant and bar on Colaba Causeway, was attacked by 2 other terrorists, killing 10 people. And after that, they proceeded towards the iconic Taj Hotel, where they held victims hostage for 3 days and left a trail of dead bodies. Mahrukh Inayat, the news editor of Times Now, who used to co-anchor the primetime news show with the then editor-in-chief of the channel, Arnab Goswami, was packing up and preparing to head home when she received the first updates of the commotion in the city. Who was attacking? Where were they? Is it a gang war? Unlike now, when social media has come to be at the heart of communication, instant information was harder to source. And Mahrukh Inayat talks about the chaos and confusion that took over, while simultaneously the busy streets of Mumbai went quiet.
I had just finished the News Hour. It's a show on leading English news channel along with my co-anchor. And we were actually leaving the building and I was supposed to go out somewhere that evening, or that night rather. Suddenly, Arnab, who was my editor at that point, he got a call And he hung up with a very strange expression on his face, and he said that, I just got a call that of somebody telling me that there are terrorists inside the Trident. And my first reaction was, I think it's a prank call. And he said, no, there was something about the voice and the tonality. I think we must go back and check out what's happening. So we went back into the newsroom. And at that time, there was really no information coming in. And suddenly, in like 30 seconds or so, we got information of a gang war in Cafe Leopold, which is a cafe in South Mumbai, very close to what ultimately became the final battlefield. So we tried finding out, but in the meantime, in a television newsroom, what happens is you're surrounded by television screens, and you're constantly looking at the feeds of other news channels. So I looked up and I saw Star News, which is now ABC News, showing visuals of people running outside the Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus. I was like, this is not Cafe Leopold, and why are people running helter-skelter? I mean, this was raw, almost like raw feed on the channel, which they had just put up. But at the same time, there was no indication of a terror strike. That's when we got first information from our journalists in Delhi who have sources in the Home Ministry. And they said it could be a possible terror attack. Mm-hmm. But we broke into the rundown and we broke news first of a gang war in Cafe Leopold. And this was 10:15 on a Wednesday evening. Most of the reporters had gone home. And I told Arnab, I said, I think I should go there. So he said, yes, just rush. And I got my camera person together and we rushed towards Cafe Leopold. On the way, I got a call and saying that go towards Oberoi's. Now, this is Mumbai, and I don't know if you're familiar with Mumbai. On any given night, right, there's enough traffic on the roads and more. And I remember passing Mahalakshmi and then Haji Ali, which is on the way to the Oberoi. And there was hardly any traffic. And I'm like, this is Wednesday evening. And those weren't the days when, social media was as active as it is now. I know it's hard to imagine, it's only 12 years, but we didn't get as many updates. It wasn't flashed. Social media was just not around in that sense. So we had no way of knowing what else is happening. It was you could only bank on your reporters, right? And many of them were trying to reach the spot just as I was. So I reached Marine Drive, and it was absolute deathly silence. There was no traffic on Marine Drive. This is like one of the most, the busiest roads per se, or boulevards in Mumbai.
And close to the Oberoi Trident, she heard gunshots. As dead bodies were being shifted into ambulances from the lobby, she got news of the catastrophe that was going on inside the Taj Hotel. And that's where she was parked for the next 72 hours.
As we approached the Oberoi, I looked up from my car and I saw a lot of the lights switched on in most of the rooms. So I told the driver to stop the car. I got out of the car with my camera person and we started walking towards the Oberoi. There is nobody there. Marine Drive at any given point again has people milling around. There's nobody there. So obviously something is amiss. And as we approach closer, we're about 50 yards away, I look up and there's this burst of gunfire from one of the windows of the hotel room. And we ducked for cover and we went into the side street, which was actually going behind the Oberoi. So we're standing there and right across, I can see some movement. This must have been the lobby area or the coffee shop, but I couldn't make out which part because I wasn't familiar with the hotel that much. And then I saw these two ambulances come in, and you know how they had those trolleys for the bags, for the luggage? They were bringing bodies out and putting them into the ambulance, and I started counting the bodies. And at that point, there were about 9 bodies that were put into the ambulance and they just sped off. So we had no idea what was going on. At that point, we realized that the Taj was, there was a almost catastrophic, situation at the Taj. So I was told to rush there. And that is where I was parked for the next 72 hours. But when I reached the Taj, there was a single fire brigade there at that point. The dome of the Taj was up in flames. You could hear constant fire. This was unreal. You can't imagine this. I'm from Kashmir, so I'm used to gunfire. But this, one couldn't believe that this was happening in Bombay.
Raksha Shetty, who was working as a general news correspondent at CNN-IBN, was at her Mumbai residence close to Nariman House when the initial rumours were breaking out and suddenly her room shook to the sound of a blast. Was she scared as she went out to report? She says there was no fear but a lot of uncertainties to face, a lot of rumours to separate from facts. Raksha Shetty says that the reassurance that she was reporting from her own turf, the knowledge of the neighbourhood and people, put her at a distinct advantage as she went on to covering the Nariman House attack.
I was working with CNN-IBN in 2008, November, at the time as a general news correspondent, and I was home the evening of the 26th. Heard, from my neighbors that there was a shootout at Leopold's. News travels really fast in Colaba, and we put it down to a local gun battle, possibly a drug battle that was, would happen from time to time there. But a few minutes later, a grenade or bomb of some kind was lobbed over at the petrol pump right outside Nariman House and outside my place as well. And my room shook. And I knew right away that this was no ordinary confrontation. Jumped out of bed, put on my clothes. And from that moment, when I was actually the first to break the news of Nariman House being, in fact, also a target of the 26/11 attack, I don't think there was any fear at the time at all because things were unfolding. We were not sure which way things are going, how severe it was or not. It was just an acute awareness for me as a journalist that I was on home ground. My knowledge of the area and the people there had put me in a very unique situation of being able to get the facts right, observing myself firsthand what was going on, what was unfolding, having, of course, very reliable sources in the neighborhood from having been there for so many years and reporting it right, especially with all the rumors and misinformation swirling around us. So knowledge of that area also meant that I was able to position myself at a vantage point from where all the events at Nariman House were unfolding in front of me. So with the help of many locals, we got ourselves down at the end of 4th Pasta Lane, as it's called. And sometimes I was, reporting from the top of Pipewala building that is directly opposite, has a direct view into Chabad House. And it was being constantly at these vantage points, especially again with the help of the locals, that allowed me to report very accurately, make sense of the utter chaos that had broken all around. For our viewers, it was simply because I was reporting what I was seeing firsthand day after day it sounded quite believable and it was fairly accurate. And this was at a time when, remember, law enforcement was severely encumbered and not always working with journalists the way they usually do. So it was really down to what the reporters were seeing firsthand and hearing from their sources right around the area that most of the accurate information was coming out. Also, we have to keep in mind that city reporters had then, and never since then either, ever experienced urban warfare of this kind. So while we were laying down behind meager barricades or on terraces of neighboring buildings, where I would often go ducking every time a shot or an RPG was fired, we were not always aware of the range of an AK-47 or of the RPGs that the terrorists were using. And we were positioned precariously close to the building, at least to Nariman House that I was, to get the best views for our cameras and for me to report for our viewers and for all other stakeholders what I was witnessing.
As the terrorists continued to hold hostages in the Chabad House, NSG commandos arrived in helicopters and stormed the building. For Raksha, those moments are still surreal.
two or three aspects of that time that really stood out for me as flashbulb moments. One was seeing baby Moshe's nanny running out with him out of Nariman House. Another was the image of the last morning of the siege of NSG commandos coming down from a helicopter hovering over Nariman House. This was a sight that was in complete dissonance with the concrete jungle around us, very surreal. And then, when it was all over, doing a sit down interview with Karambir Kang, who was the general manager of the Taj at the time. This was a very emotional sort of interview for whoever of us was present there. Myself as the interviewer, the camera crew, himself, of course, given what had happened to his family. And because of all these experiences, I would say that 2611, even so many years on, was a shared experience, of course, for the victims and the survivors most acutely, but also for law enforcement personnel and journalists who were present on the scene, because our lives were intertwined in many, many ways with many of the people affected and with what was happening and unfolding before us.
Despite the terror whirlwind that had shaken up the city, this was also a time when fake news didn't dominate the newsphere so openly. And it was up to the media and the journalists on ground to report responsibly. Shai Venkatraman, who was then working for NDTV, says that all hands were on deck in the newsroom, and as information kept pouring in without enough certainty about what was a fact and what was not, she says that this moment came to be media's trial by fire.
की घटना थी और हमारे न्यूज रूम में उस वक्त एनडीटीवी के न्यूज रूम में बिल्कुल एक केओस था और मुझे पता था कि कुछ रिपोर्टर्स जो ताज के साइड में थे वो चले गए थे ऑटोमेटिकली, तो मैंने कहा ठीक है मैं अस्पताल जाती हूँ। सबसे नियरेस्ट हॉस्पिटल तो बॉम्बे हॉस्पिटल था, तो मैं वहां सीधा चली गई। तो एक बिल्कुल केओस था, मतलब आइडिया ही नहीं था कि कहाँ से क्या हो रहा है। रिपोर्ट्स थे कि बहुत सारे टेररिस्ट शहर के अंदर सबर्ब्स की तरफ जा रहे थे गाड़ियों में, मतलब एक there was no clarity of information, and just as you know, for the first 12 hours, 15 hours, the Mumbai police was also completely, taken by surprise. और जैसे हम बॉम्बे हॉस्पिटल गए, वो जब frankly मुझे भी एहसास, it hit me when I saw the bodies of Hemant Karkare and the policemen being brought in, because तीनों को बॉम्बे हॉस्पिटल आया गया स्ट्रेचर्स पे, और मैं वहां खड़ी थी। और जब तीनों करकरे जो उस टाइम पे एटीएस के चीफ थे, सालस्कर एनकाउंटर स्पेशलिस्ट, व्हेन दे वर ब्रॉट इन एंड यू सॉ द पुलिस उनके साथ जो थे रो रहे थे, दैट्स व्हेन इट हिट मी कि ये मतलब दिस इज एक्चुअली हैपेंड, दिस इज रियल, दिस इज ऑन द स्केल व्हिच वी कुड हैव नेवर इमेजिन्ड दैट बॉम्बे कुड एक्सपीरियंस, एनी सिटी इन इंडिया कुड एक्सपीरियंस। एंड देन फ्रॉम देयर, ऑफ कोर्स, as reporters, you would never have enough reporters to cover a situation like this, because इतने locations थे, इतने rumors थे। धीरे धीरे पता लगा कि खाबाद हाउस कोलाबा में भी siege है। शुरू में पता ही नहीं था। हम ताज, ट्राइडेंट और कामा वगैरह ये locations, because these people were moving, कसाब वगैरह, for some time they were moving till they were cornered on Marine Drive. तो we were grappling with that. धीरे फिर पता लगा कुछ घंटों बाद कि नहीं, खाबाद हाउस में भी घुस चुके हैं कुछ लोग, और वहां पे a family is being held hostage. So it was, hitting us in waves. And for the media also in India, it had never covered a situation like this, where you had no police person to talk to, you had no senior police person even had the time to tell you or the information to tell you. So it was completely chaotic, completely scary, and you had to be very responsible because this was live coverage.
Exactly.
और what you are putting out, हम क्या बोलें, rumors क्या fact हैं, ये सही में है कि गाड़ियां लेके विले पार्ले की तरफ टेररिस्ट जा रहे हैं, मतलब इस तरह की खबरें फैल रही थी। और एक बहुत ही it was a real trial by fire for the media. तो ये कांस्टेंट जो एक तरह से, ऑफ कोर्स कुछ एक दो दिन बाद कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन आने लगे मुंबई पुलिस से, जो थोड़ा सा हम we could go by factually, but शुरू में तो for the first 48 hours कुछ खबर ही नहीं थी। And you have to understand that the Mumbai police was also hit by the deaths of 3 of its senior most officers. So it was a huge sense of shock. That the city was, everybody, at the senior most level, there was no information coming for a long time. Right. Until you had some sense of control with the security forces coming from the center. वो जब ताज में घुस गए वहां पे थोड़ा सा जब कंट्रोल आया तब थोड़ी खबर आने लगी, थोड़ा सा इन्फॉर्मेशन था, बट कुछ हद तक इट वाज ऑलवेज कि हम क्या डाल रहे हैं, कौन देख रहा है वो इन्फॉर्मेशन, हम किस हद तक बोल रहे हैं उससे. It's not just the public. As you know, it later emerged that our coverage was being watched by people, who were carrying it out. So you had to be very careful कि हम क्या किस हद तक information डालें. बदली तो थी एक तरह से I think you felt a great sense of responsibility as a reporter. Of course you always want to be responsible as a reporter, but उस दिन एहसास हुआ कि हम क्या कह रहे हैं, वो क्या डाल रहे हैं information, किस तरह से लोगों के पास जा रही है. Because जहां भी हम गए उसके बाद दूसरों के घरों में you saw everyone was watching the media, everyone was watching the news reports. सब वहीं से एक तरह से खबर, एक तरह से उम्मीद, सब वहीं से मिल रही थी लोगों को. So you really felt कि हम किस तरह से, हम क्या words use करते हैं, हम कैसे, हम 2 मिनट रुक भी जाएं, but let's not put it out right away, because हर चीज की कितनी वैल्यू है, कितनी वेटेज है. और वो एक I really felt it that day कि responsible reporting का मतलब क्या होता है. Responsible is about so much, then it's about getting the facts right. Yes, it's also about when to put that fact out. वो 2 मिनट का फर्क हम बोलें कि अगर हम कह दे, समझ लीजिए एनएसजी कमांडोज ने पोजीशन ले लिया है और एनएसजी कमांडोज घुस गए हैं. there's a difference at what time you put that information out. Right. But there are so many lives depending on that. I think that is, I'm not saying anyone should learn like this. I never want anybody, any city, any reporter to experience this.
Even 12 years after, Venkatraman says that she'll never forget the image of the police officers who fell victims to an intense gunfight.
The image of those 3 police officers as they were brought into Bombay Hospital, वो मैं कभी नहीं भूलूंगी, because some of them were officers I had interacted with very closely in my career working in Mumbai. Mumbai as a reporter. So I will never forget one of them. In fact, I had just met a few days before he was killed. And he was in the midst of a very sensitive investigation himself, the Malegaon blast, Hemant Karkare. So, ये सब images हैं मेरे लिए. दूसरा ये था कि खाबाद हाउस में जब वो बच्चे को रेस्क्यू किया गया और उसकी नानी साथ में बाहर आई, सैंड्रा, and she was being led away गाड़ी के अंदर, वो एक खबर थी. Because it's wrong, I don't know if it's the right, hope नहीं बोलूंगी, but वो देख के हमें लगा कि शायद उम्मीद थी कि बच गए होंगे. अगर वो बच्चा निकल गया तो maybe the parents were alive. तो for a while we kept hoping कि शायद वहां से खबर इतनी बुरी नहीं होगी. But obviously वैसा नहीं था. But the other thing I'll never forget is, in those days, the way our security forces looked, so much in control. उनको देख के हमें थोड़ा सा, we've derived our strength from them. In Taj, wherever they looked so, obviously, ऐसा नहीं था. They were also grappling with a situation that perhaps they had never faced. But जिस तरह से वो control में थे, खाबाद house में, in fact, as the last moments, as the whole encounter ended, all the terrorists inside were killed. I covered Khabad. For the last 48 hours, I was mostly at Khabad. Till it ended. वो जिस तरह से उन्होंने अलग अलग जगह पे घरों में locations, positions लिए, क्योंकि वो बहुत ही crowded neighborhood है जहाँ पे लोग थे घर में. तो ये लोग जब फायर कर रहे थे, टेररिस्ट किसी को भी लग सकता था. तो वो पूरी सिचुएशन मैनेज करके फिर भी वो घर के अंदर घुसे, and they managed to end that siege, was just very, very, I won't use the word inspiring, but tremendous work done by the security forces. You felt so proud that they were there. You really felt safe.
If you like listening to this episode, please subscribe to the Big Story playlist for episodic updates. We're live on Apple, Google Podcast, Spotify, JioSaavn, and most of the other popular podcast streaming platforms. For other podcasts, please log on to the Quint website and check out the podcast section. For any feedback, shoot an email to podcasts@thequint.com.
Thanks for listening. Log on to the Quince website and check out our other podcasts